Welcome to Africa Insight. In this week's video, I am joined by my colleague Louw, who's back. And in this week's video, we're going to talk about something interesting. So here in South Africa, our President Ramaphosa, paid a very sneaky visit to our neighbors in Zimbabwe. That's Emmerson Mnangagwa. Louw, could you tell us about this interesting visit?
Yes, so this was a sneaky visit indeed. There was no formal notification prior to the meeting. It wasn't on Ramaphosa's agenda. I first learned about it in a tweet on Saturday by Zimbabwean journalist Chiwayo, who was talking about this visit.
Yep.
And then on Sunday, we saw on social media photos being posted of Ramaphosa being whisked from Harare on the presidential helicopter to Mnangagwa's private farm near Kwekwe. In tow were three very controversial businessmen, close associates of Mr. Mnangagwa, very big heavy hitters in Zimbabwean politics at the moment. They've made an awful lot of money doing business with the state over the last few years, and in return they've become big benefactors of ZANU-PF. We're of course talking about Kudakwashe, Tagwirei, Wicknell, Chivayo, and Paul Tagwirei was also in attendance. These three men were very prominent and rarely left Ramaphosa's side. It obviously gave him a big boost to be seen, to be pictured with someone with Ramaphosa's stature. We then saw South Africa's presidency communicate late on Sunday at 7 p.m. that Ramaphosa had undertaken a working visit to Zimbabwe. Very strange indeed. Of course, Ramaphosa today is meeting Mozambique's Daniel Chapo.
Yes.
But that was notified, that was already on his agenda, that was always going to take place. This visit felt more like it was first described by some as a private visit. Ramaphosa visiting Mnangagwa and discussing matters of mutual interest. But the fact that the presidency had to scramble afterwards and almost reverse engineer a reason for the visit makes it all the more suspicious. Of course, the visit comes at a time where Zimbabwe or ZANU-PF is pushing for a constitutional amendment, one that would extend Mnangagwa's time in office from 2028 to 2030 and probably longer thereafter. I think that's very much the long-term view. Vice-President Constantino Chiwenga was not involved in this visit. He is, of course, the heir apparent for Mnangagwa, but increasingly these days, as we've discussed on Africa Insight before, Mnangagwa doesn't seem keen to have his deputy take over and seems keener on individuals like Tagwirei, known as Queen Bee in Zimbabwe, individuals like that perhaps taking over, which is causing a big stir because these are individuals that don't have a political background, they don't have struggle credentials, they just throw a lot of cash around. What makes it worse, of course, is that Tagwirei is under US sanctions. He has been under US sanctions since 2020, not the kind of individual that Ramaphosa should be rubbing shoulders with.
Considering our ties with the US, that's going to...
Exactly, and at the same time also Wicknell Chivayo is under investigation by the Financial
Action Task Force.
In South Africa. So again, not the kind of individual should be rubbing shoulders.
We just got off the grey listing, and doesn't help as well.
Exactly. And of course, we're a country that's coming off the back of state capture. And really what you can describe all of this with, Mnangagwa's relationship with these business tycoons, if it's not state capture, then I don't know how else to describe it. South Africa coming off the back of state capture, trying to push back against it. In fact, some people have described these individuals as Zimbabwe's Guptas. A very bad look for Ramaphosa. He was filmed walking around the farm, saying things like, the owners of these ostriches, referring of course to Mnangagwa, is going to be president until 2030, giving the impression that South Africa, or at the very least the ANC, is quite happy with these amendments. That was what we're told as well on the side, that as long as Parliament passes these amendments, as long as they approve it, then South Africa is not going to raise any objections to it.
I was just thinking of that, just to cut in there, I was just thinking maybe it's an early visit, so Mnangagwa and Ramaphosa can sort of smooth over the ties that, okay, he's going to be in office for another 2 years, and I'm just thinking back all the years to the Mbeki silent diplomacy. It could be some kind of element, but sorry, as you were saying.
And of course that quiet diplomacy was a disaster. All those years where Mbeki gave Mugabe free rein to do what he was doing with this nonsense of quiet diplomacy. It feels somewhat similar to that, and of course there are these historical ties between the ANC and ZANU-PF. What you have here now is suddenly some internal tensions within the government of national unity. The DA has already questioned this visit, asking what exactly is the nature of this visit, what was it all about, and are we not again giving cover to a ZANU-PF government
Yeah, exactly.
behaving in a way that it should not. These constitutional amendments are coming back to Parliament this month.
Okay.
The Justice Minister Ziambi is going to push for the second reading, and he insists that the amendments can be passed by Parliament and will not be subjected to a referendum. Of course,
Yeah.
most constitutional scholars will tell you that that amendment does need to go to a referendum. It makes significant changes.
Yeah, exactly.
It removes direct presidential elections and things of that nature, increases the size of the Senate. These are big changes that really should be put to a referendum. But ZANU doesn't want to do that because they'll probably get slapped down.
No, definitely.
And so this visit really comes at a terrible time for South Africa. Ramaphosa, I'm not quite sure if he thought that this was going to just fly under the radar,
Yeah.
and people were just not going to talk about this or not point out how problematic all of this was.
Yeah.
But now that it's out in the open, we certainly expect some answers. What exactly was the nature of this visit?
I think it's very interesting, Louw, and I think let's leave it at that. Thank you for joining Africa Insight this week. If you'd like more information on our products or services, please visit our website or socials.